All right, good morning, good evening, good night. Welcome into the Nifty Q Show. We're interviewing influential founders, leaders, and people in the NFT industry. Today, I'm sitting with Golden Cross, co-founder of Aavegotchi. We'll be talking in depth about the latest updates coming to the platform, how to successfully merge NFTs and DeFi, a primer on the upcoming release of the GOTCHIVERSE, and much more. Listen, Golden Cross, you're the first one to take an interview from the car, man. And I know we're going to get some spotty Wi-Fi here, but we're going to have ourselves a good time too. So how are you doing today?
Doing great, Nifty Q. And yeah, it's good to be back. First time on the new program. And yeah, first time broadcasting out of the car. So hope the hotspot holds up and everything. We're on the move always here at Aavegotchi. So
Absolutely. You had a busy day, man. You guys had some Twitter spaces. There's a lot of releases to talk about as well. So a lot of stuff going on here. So there's just a lot going on, especially our two T-shirts, by the way. You mentioned to point that out prior to the episode.
yeah, I swear. So for the record, before anybody gets ahead of it, we'll just be upfront. We did not coordinate. We're just two fashionable guys.
It's not even Flannel Friday, and we're wearing our flannels here. Hey, I want to call you Jesse so bad, but Golden Cross, I will stick to it. How does it feel to be like the most undervalued project in the space? And I love having you guys on. Your community is amazing. But right off the bat, man, how does it feel to be the most slept on project in the entire space?
It is an interesting place to be. I do wake up every day feeling like everybody else is still sleeping, but we're just so excited about what we're building out. And I think the proof is in the pudding, right? The last year and a half of what we've built, it's kind of like layers on a cake. Like we started with this granular concept of what a better NFT pet could be. And then that was the beginning of Aavegotchi, this idea of staking collateral inside your NFT and being able to benefit from the yield directly from a crypto pet. That's what Aavegotchi originally was. And over the last year and a half, I feel like we've pushed through the white paper and the roadmap. And now we're at a place where we're ready to launch the Gotchiverse. And so you're right. Just earlier today, we did a Twitter Spaces because of the 1 year anniversary of the Aavegotchi NFTs going live on the Polygon network. And so big celebration. A lot of the OGs came on, a lot of the different guilds that are getting ready for the Gotchiverse, and they already are collecting their gotchis and their different wearables for the gameplay. So there's like a lot to be excited about right now. It's just this snowball effect that just keeps building. And, you know, for some, maybe there's a lot of bright, shiny things out there in the space. But we're just so proud of what we've built, and we see it growing every day with more and more people coming on board. And that's the cool thing, right? We've now got it to a point where whether you're interested in the Aavegotchi itself, kind of the intrinsic game, that's one way to interact with the Aavegotchi protocol. But it really is more like a protocol now. There's multiple dApps, multiple NFT projects, including the Gotchiverse, of course, which is more like a metaverse, proper DeFi RPG. We're just weeks away from that going live, by the way. So for anybody tuning in and they're like, you know, Aavegotchi is cool, but like it's expensive and all that. The Gotchiverse brings a lot of new ways to get involved, and even for free with little cost to no cost. So hopefully we can get into some of that today, because I think that's the alpha for your audience. They're looking for, you know, an entry point that's risk-free. I'm very happy to say we've developed a way to do that. Imagine the sharing economy or an Uber ride, but for your NFT. So you're going to rent an Aavegotchi or just borrow an Aavegotchi and go play to earn in the Gotchiverse. So it's exciting. Tons of things moving right now.
One of the things that stands out to me with Aavegotchi is how quickly you guys move into what is on the fringe. So lending is another thing you guys are getting into, of course. Basically, people are kind of just making their way into maybe offering native lending, and you guys are all the way kind of, you know, ready to roll out that product. Same thing happened with interoperability when you guys moved to Polygon as well. I want to give a personal thank you for that as well. You got me involved in Polygon when you guys made that bridge, and that was an amazing experience to kind of interact with Polygon for the first time through Gotchi. So, I mean, we'll touch on what you guys have from an update perspective, but let's get a little bit of your background, man, as we go. Actually, no, wait. I want to talk about Kevin Pixelmon. What is happening in the space right now, Golden Cross? What is going on with all of this? Like, give me a state of the union of the NFT space from your perspective.
Yeah, the state of the union is strong for NFTs, but a little wild. There's a lot there's a lot of noise out there. And as far as the Pixel one, I have not had time to get personally involved in it, but I've seen like Coder Dan, my co-founder, follow him on Twitter. He was tweeting about this Kevin thing. So yeah, it's entertaining. It's fascinating. The latest chapter in NFTs. So no, I can't comment too much on that particular case. But when I look around, I see a ton of metaverse games coming out, or being announced or promised by different PFPs. It's like you had your PFPs, and now they're trying to offer more utility. For sure, some of them will succeed, but I think the majority of what we see out there today is pretty frothy. There's a lot of teams that don't have the bandwidth, the expertise, not to say they don't have good intentions to deliver what needs to be delivered. So that list to me, I'm always, it's going to be shorter than it is long. And so without naming particular names and stuff, I just say, always do your due diligence. There's hype, there's a lot of hype, and then there's teams that actually build and ship. And that's where Pixelcraft Studios, that's our company building on the Aavegotchi protocol. I like to think we've done a pretty good job of delivering what we promise, not over promising, and really embracing, like, our goal is just to embrace Web3 in every way. So maybe you get some of that with different NFT projects, but there's very few that are like ours, where we're, like you said, playing with the fringes. If there's a new standard that comes out, we want to find a way to incorporate it into Aavegotchi so that our community has a reason and an opportunity to experiment and use that new standard. So that's why we don't just use ERC20 and 721, but we actually use like 998 to do composability of NFTs, so you can equip one NFT to another NFT. That's you mentioned the bridging. We're very early on the bridging thematic, and this lending thing is going to be huge because I can't overstate enough. Like, once you're able to lend Aavegotchis to one another to go play to earn in a place where there's tokens to be earned, multiple types of tokens, that friction is gone. Accessibility goes way up, and then suddenly you as the gotchi owner, you might play with it for, jump in the game for a couple hours, but there's 24 hours in a day. And so those kind of features are what I'm excited about and get me excited about. And the NFT itself is like, yeah, I love cats, I love apes, I love all the different mammals.
I do want to get your
But
take here, because you didn't want to throw anybody under the bus. What are some projects that you think are doing well? Because from, again, my perspective, I couldn't say enough good things about you guys. But you having the mindset you do, who is doing it well in your opinion?
yeah, for me, I mean, the apes are doing it well in a very different way than us. They seem, from my outsider's perspective, very focused on delivering a truly on-chain way to get together and fund things that the community kind of values together, to have exclusive access to really high-profile events like the Strokes in New York, something like that. That's pretty cool. It's like truly in line with the whole social aspect that they have. You're flexing, you're getting access to VIP events. It's a good use case, and they kind of are the best model for that PFP community kind of case right now. I think where Aavegotchi differs is we are also kind of a PFP. We launched with 10,000 initial Aavegotchis, but then once you get under the surface, it's like, no, this is a gaming protocol. This is something that goes beyond just access to a certain NFT platform or experience in real life. It's more about interacting with blockchain and smart contracts in every possible way. So it's almost like education, or like learn to earn, something along those lines. And you're having a blast doing it at the same time.
A great example is that interoperability, right? You're teaching people about what the hell Polygon was by getting them to switch over through Aavegotchi. So I do want to, like, obviously we have a long conversation. It's going to be a nice conversation here. I'm at home. Golden Cross is in a car somewhere. We don't want to like dox him or anything, but we have enough time where we can just have a cool breakdown of what's going on. So give me a little bit of a background here on how you found yourself in crypto and NFTs, and then we'll make our way into like a deeper conversation, because you guys have your hands in so many different things, the DeFi piece, the metaverse piece, and you have a lot of good insights there. But give me a quick breakdown on Golden Cross.
Sure. Yeah, so Golden Cross, my background really has been in crypto for about the last 7-8 years. My math is bad, but I think that's about right. And it depends on when you count, but like I got involved from the community organizing standpoint where I was passionate about it and I didn't see any way for people to get together and talk about it. So I was overseas working in mainland China and ended up organizing the first like English only kind of meetups there. And actually, that was alongside Coder Dan. We met over there, my co-founder. From there, I went to work for digital asset exchanges out of China, some of the biggest exchanges, oldest Bitcoin exchanges in existence. ZB Group is like the second oldest in China, and got to work there for a couple of years. And what you do there is, you're doing due diligence, you're talking to different projects. And now we're talking 2018. I'm coming across finally some really interesting projects that don't have ERC20 tokens. And I'm like, what's going on here? Meeting these guys, and they're talking about NFTs.
What
So that was
projects?
like, so that would have been, well, the most notable was I got to meet Zach Burks, who was just building out Mintable at the time. And that was like at the time a very beta version of Mintable that where for the first time ever, you don't have any coding, but you're able to go in and mint your own NFT. And so I'd become aware of CryptoKitties and met some of them and some of that stuff. But that was the first time I really sat down and was like, okay, this is very powerful stuff. We're talking about culture on the blockchain. We're talking about a new type of digital asset vertical that has so much potential for use cases, whether it's the art, the crypto art and crypto collecting we see today, or some of the less shiny stuff like in the B2B side, you've got supply chain, transparency, traceability. All of those use cases for NFTs were kind of presented to me all at once, getting to meet Zach. And from there, I actually left ZB to go help co-found and grow Mintable with him and just learn as much as I could about NFTs because it was just much more exciting than anything else at the time. And there was no market for it. Nothing was happening on OpenSea. It
I
was
remember
just
those days.
yeah, it was very early. And so, luckily, through my work at an exchange, I got exposed to some cool projects that started to raise my awareness relatively early.
Yeah.
And I've always been very creative, so I always wanted to prefer to be a product guy. I used to work at Lenovo and be on the product improvement side there. So, basically, once we got going with Zach and Mintable, I started to get exposed to some of these potential use cases for NFTs and got pretty obsessed with the idea of taking an NFT but putting intrinsic value into it, such as a ERC20 token. So we got gold stablecoins, putting them inside of things called BullionX. This was my first series of NFTs. Way before PFPs were popular, these are actually like 3D high-res gold coins, 1 of 1, 5 of 5, 10 of 10, but they have actual verifiable amounts of these DGX gold tokens staked to them. And so that was the first foray into my own product design there. And through that work, kind of reconnected with Coder Dan, and he was working on some stuff for an Aave hackathon. And it just became obvious that if we took what he was doing with yield, he was playing around with like redirecting yield to different people you support in the space, taking some of those concepts, taking some of what we learned with NFTs and the intrinsic values at BullionX, and we ended up making this. We sat down and said, well, what if we wanted to make a better crypto pet? Like CryptoKitties are cool, but they sit in my wallet and they don't come out too often. And a real pet is something you would pet every day. You'd take care of it.
Yeah.
So
I
there comes Aavegotchi with the kinship score, right? If you're petting your Aavegotchi every day, that's an on-chain transaction and you are rewarded. So we like to say, you take care of your Gotchi and your Gotchi will take care of you.
Yeah, one lightning question here, Golden Cross. Were you like a huge Tamagotchi fan growing up? Like why Aavegotchi? Like why Gotchi? Is there you could have done anything. If you're going for a game, you could have made this a spaceship game set in, 1,000 years in the future or something like that. Why
Yeah.
Tamagotchis?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. I love the idea of Tamagotchis. I did have a few. I also had the other one, the Digimonster, like more battle mode type
Love those.
kind of version.
I
So
was
yeah,
I,
I
I
mean,
was in Hawaii. I was in and that was big. Digimon was huge. I had that one you're talking about.
yeah, those were pretty cool. And so I put probably more time into those, honestly. But that's why the Aavegotchi does not poop like a Tamagotchi. It's not a carbon copy. It's just inspired by. So we really wanted something that was, when you say the name, I mean, it's DeFi. It's so it's like, all right, our audience, our DeFi people, they know Aave, and we want to gamify Aave. So it just kind of came out that like this is basically a crypto pet, a digital pet. Tamagotchi's the most worldwide famous version of that. If we're trying to convey what we are, cute little ghosts. Plus, they had to be ghosts because we were partnering with Aave, and their kind of mascot is a ghost as well.
Yeah.
So it just kind of all came together with talking to the Aave team and knowing we wanted basically the equivalent, the crypto equivalent of a Tamagotchi.
Okay, we're gonna step into that timeline a little bit of like founding Aavegotchi around the same time DeFi was really blowing up. I think that's obviously a super important portion of who you guys are. Definitely an investment thesis of mine is finding the teams that know how to put in DeFi into their NFTs, and not just put it on the roadmap and say, "Hey, we're gonna add a token someday." It's like, no, that's a definitely a hard thing to accomplish, and you guys do that well. But stepping back a little bit, you mentioned China. You mentioned having worked over there and met a couple colleagues over there as well. What is China's role in NFTs, either now and in the future? Because around that 2017-18 timeline, those guys, and I would even include 2016, the guys that got in back then, the guys and girls that got in back then, understood that China had some role in the altcoin markets back then, right? Tron even. But the NFTs, it's a little more murky. It's like, what is China actually doing with NFTs? Do Chinese citizens even know what NFTs are? What do you think China's role with NFTs is now and in the future?
Yeah. That's an interesting topic. Yeah. We invest a lot of energy into the China scene, into that language. Aavegotchi.com is multilingual now. I think the community's translated up to like 8 or 9 languages. So not just Chinese, but all over the world. It's really cool. You just click the button on the side and you can do about any major language. We're getting Latin next. But
Not many
as far
users there.
yeah, there's actually a surprising demand for Latin on the site. No, in China, China's an amazing place, an amazing market. I lived there for over 8 years and learned a lot and speak the language. And Dan is still there. My co-founder is literally based in China. So we have our finger on the pulse of the Chinese market, at least in terms of Aavegotchi, and they're pretty active. There is a bit of I would say, like you mentioned, the altcoin market. They know that market in and out. It's finance. They do there's like a lot of influence coming out of the Chinese players in the ecosystem that affect those markets and those tokens. For NFTs, it remains to be seen, but we're investing that time and we're seeing great returns. We've got guilds popping up, translators, community leaders, ambassadors, all coming out of mainland China speaking leading Mandarin programs. So we've got full-time staff based in China. We're betting big on it. We think that market, despite some of the FUD about regulations and those kind of things, once they get into like Gotchiverse gameplay, it's much more intuitive than what we've done so far with NFTs and Aavegotchi petting. That I think they're gonna love it, and the friction that we reduce with our new onboarding methods for Gotchiverse should play a very big role with raising awareness and getting players from China.
It's crazy that the NFT projects have had this much success so soon. I mean, in the U.S., we still have education to do. Not many people, maybe they're just starting to own Bitcoin here from a normie perspective, but not many people own NFTs. So when you unlock the Chinese market, that's absolutely crazy for your guys' growth.
Yeah, that's why we keep hammering away at it. We've got so early on we identified, she's full time now, one of our teammates who basically has been running the most successful NFT programs inside mainland China. If you look at like Whale Group from Whale Shark and that vault for NFTs, if you look at Sandbox, these are the kind of projects she was helping to get into that market early on, and we're super thrilled to have her full-time on our team. She's been with us probably 7-8 months now at least, if not longer. And so it's always a work in progress, but we're at a great place with our Chinese community. We have over there they use WeChat, and you have caps on how many people you can have in one group. I guess you don't want too many people getting together. So there's 500 max to a single WeChat group, and we've got, I don't know, half dozen or dozen, whatever, a lot of WeChat groups filled and active, and her team has basically been doing a great job of onboarding those people. Once the Gotchiverse comes, I think that's where the floodgates open and everybody's like, okay, now I can use these. We love games, we get gaming. It's just so much more intuitive.
Yeah, you mentioned a little bit of the differences between maybe a Chinese user of NFTs or just crypto in general, how they understand the financial side. I know I'm not making it easy for you, but maybe another hardball question here. You have users from around the world. Do you notice any tendencies between a Asian user as opposed to a US, or maybe even a difference between a Russian user and a US user, or things like this? Do you notice any tendencies between those nationality groups?
To be honest, I really don't see too many big differences. I mean, at the end of the day, currently what we've seen is um, intense activity on the DAO, and the DAO has a multilingual kind of facet to it where we're seeing a lot of, I guess the standouts would be obviously a lot of English, but then you've got the Mandarin, a lot of French speakers, actually a good turnout from Australia representing. So we are very well, kind of like you say, we're kind of all over the world, and we have ambassadors in a lot of different countries. But I don't see a difference in the play. People want to take care of their gotchi. They want to climb the leaderboard to earn the rarity farming. The one place I would say America in general really jumps out is in the engagement and the interest in participating in the DAO. I don't know what it is, and it's not universal, but I will say that some of the biggest stars in the DAO, individuals, happen to be American. They're just very, very active and hands-on with the DAO aspect of these projects. And that's not to say there aren't. I can think of Vietnamese, Singaporeans, Russians, and a lot of French that are also in the DAO. But yeah, that's one area. Because I think you're American, right? So we can say
Yeah.
that, yeah, the Americans got the DAO part down pretty well.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I can feel that sentiment with like DAO education kind of taking hold here. I want to give a quick shout out to our own community member here, and one of yours. We always shout out Choina here on
yes.
the show whenever we get an Aavegotchi appearance. So I want to give a quick shout out to Choina, Hash Rhymes, Tigbo, Alex, Flubber, Coca. It looks like Asmodee's here, Fun Uncle's here. So we are live on YouTube right now. You can find us on audio afterwards, guys. Give us about 24 hours, and it'll be on Spotify. It'll be on Apple Podcasts. So shout out to those of you that are listening on audio as well. So let's make our way, Golden Cross, into kind of that DeFi timeline, right? 2019, I think, is when Aavegotchi was potentially founded. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but it had a lot to do with this rise of Aave and you guys getting that initial Aave grant and you working within their ecosystem. So tell me a little bit about that timeline, and then let's make our way to like present day.
Yeah, basically, late 2019, we were still kind of working mostly on the BullionX project, and learning what we could about what works and what doesn't there with this idea of intrinsic value NFTs. And then you fast forward a couple months, there was the ETH Global Hackathon that Coder Dan led on and got into the redirecting of Aave yield, got to know the Aave team. So now we're in like Q1, Q2 of 2020. And that's when we felt like we were in a position where we had a strong enough concept uh, to go and pitch to Stanny and the team at Aave. And luckily we got a forum with them, and it was the right time, right place, right product. They were just like, yep, we know what you've done from the Global Hackathon. We see BullionX, and yeah, it's a sound idea. And especially early on there, like big credit to the Aave team for being open-minded, because they could have just stuck on like we're DeFi and DeFi only. And big credit for them to actually get pretty hands-on with us in terms of introducing people that could help with giving us feedback on tokenomics and the ideas around the GHST token, because we're setting up a bonding curve. And we told them very early on, this is kind of our vision for a DAO from day one. Like start with a bonding curve that fairly distributes a governance token from day one. It was based off of, inspired by a tweet by Vitalik, I believe, in late 2019. And yeah, Stanny was super on board, made introductions, gave feedback, and and not just Stanley, but Jordan and the rest of the guys too. So that was kind of what was happening there in the late spring of 2020, and then we were able to really start searching for who's going to build this with us because we know what we need. And that's where like our pixel artist, lead visionary Zbot came on board. We looked at a lot of different ways we could go about designing these Aavegotchis, but we knew we wanted them to be 100% on chain. No reliance on AWS servers to remember the artwork, not even IPFS because that's not foolproof, but we want something with lightweight SVG files. We were pretty inspired by Jimmy's project. Oh my gosh, what is it? The one, the
Avastars?
one. Yes, Avastars. Thank you. So that was kind of like, yeah, we want to go that route so that you know you have longevity for these NFTs, and it's not reliant on us. Kind of takes the pressure off. As long as the Polygon chain exists, these Aavegotchis in full form, will be complete and exist. And so that was all kind of happening there in early summer at that point. And then, like I say, we launched the Ghost bonding curve in September of that year, and the actual NFTs launched almost, well, yeah, today's the 1 year anniversary of Haunt One, the
Wow,
first 10,000 Aavegotchis.
yeah, I really want to get into the project now, but before we just hop in there, I did have a question on kind of the DeFi integrations that you see in the NFT space right now. Like, what is the thing that NFT projects should be looking for when they're introducing an ERC20 token from your guys' perspective? I know you did a ton of thinking on how to integrate DeFi, and you guys do it amazingly because you have that DeFi background. But not a lot of NFT founders have that background. So is there any recommendations that you would have to teams out there when they're introducing an ERC20?
Yeah, I would say it depends on the motives, and assuming that they are in for the long term, they're not looking for a quick buck, quick pump and dump type of thing, but a legit token with longevity for the community. I think we are still to this day really one of the very few bonding curve examples of a successful implementation of a bonding curve. So highly recommend people. There is plenty of material out there online about our bonding curve and what we made as decisions on that. We've advised other projects privately about bonding curves then when they're considering whether or not to implement one. Basically, it's just a way to distribute the token, and it's a less used way because, well, I guess the downside is the critique is it's less volatile because you're
Less
actually
pumpamentals.
yeah, less pumpamentals, but more longevimentals. So it's like it's you can just see it in our chart. If you pull up our maximum chart on CoinGecko, you see this stair, and it's just stairs to heaven as we call it. So stairway to GOTCHIVERSE, and that's because the way it's set up is you actually are putting DAI stablecoins into the bonding curve in order to mint new tokens. So they're not minted for free. They're not minted like pre-mint and just distributed willy-nilly with backroom deals. None of that's possible because it's all coming from this smart contract that we call the bonding curve. And so it grows very organically. The volatility is less. But that has other benefits because coming back to DeFi, we recently got Ghost listed on the Aave protocol. So if you go to aave.com and you want to take out a loan, now Ghost token, GHST, can be one of your collateral options. And we are by far the lowest market cap option on the Aave protocol. We're the first NFT token on the Aave protocol. And the reason we're able to do that isn't just because, we had early support from Stanny and Aave. It was actually, we had to convince the entire Aave DAO to do this over like a 6-month period and put the work in. And the reason we're able to do that is because we have a blog out called The Case for Ghost as the Best DeFi Token. And it makes a strong case and goes into all the benefits of having it collateralized by a stablecoin, having a bonding curve to smooth out the volatility. These actually make for great things where you're able to take out a loan and be much less likely to get liquidated, right? So from a user perspective, the utility for Ghost actually benefits in so many ways if you're not worried about just day trading.
Yeah, this is interesting because crypto is like known as a really high volatility just industry in general, sector in general, and that might honestly in the short term hurt you guys. Do you feel like that low volatility has hurt you guys? Because really, Axie Infinity, I remember hearing about them when SLP just went like 900% in now the people in the Philippines are using it as a way to just sustain their life. But now you see that it's the opposite. You're getting a lot of FUD now from the Axie Infinity, kind of platform there because SLP is so volatile. So, what do you think that that's hurt you guys or at all, that low volatility?
No, I'm so glad we don't have the problems and the challenges that poor tokenomics or just the other way would have led to. If you have a very sharp increase in interest and then you see the price of the token sharply increase, but as a builder, you can't match that kind of erratic movement, it's going to lead to people getting hurt. It's going to lead to unnecessary pressure on the roadmap and deliverables. From our point of view, we've been able to just ship different updates, different features, different products, and each time you do this, you do see like just a nice stair step up in the value of the protocol. And so it feels and it seems to be working that the value of the GHST token is reflecting the activity
User
that is
growth.
happening on the Aavegotchi protocol. And it's great because if we had had a huge pop in the price early on, some hype about whatever we dropped in, it struck a chord. Um, I don't know where we'd be right now. I don't think we'd be in as good of a place. We have a extremely strong community that has done very well for itself, whether it's migrating over to Matic early, getting involved in GBM auctions where they actually bid to earn. We just work hard to deliver valuable opportunities to the community outside of the volatility of the GHST token. And I think if we do that, the GHST token is going to take care of itself and reflect the success of the protocol.
I will say amen to that. I do want to cap off, and I know I like to lay the foundation here for the actual project and breakdown. But the last question, I promise, guys who are just waiting for that Aavegotchi alpha, is a question about DeFi, right? Like I haven't really done that much deep dive into Aave recently, where they were a big player in 2019, and that is kind of reflective of the DeFi space in general. There's not a lot of sticky users, like you just mentioned, that stick around. They're sticking for the yield, and then when there's another platform that offers a better yield, they're gone. And we've seen DeFi take a massive hit. So I know you kind of wade in between both worlds. Is DeFi still okay? Is everything right in DeFi world?
Yeah, I think it's the tokens themselves have had a whole pullback compared to where their highs were 6 months ago, 9 months ago, and that's kind of what we were just talking about. The hype factors kind of come and go, but in terms of users, yeah, definitely there's a lot of mercenaries that you park your capital there, you get the yield, and then you get out. That said, I think Aave still has 20 billion. They've kind of hovered, put in a nice floor at 20 billion TVL under the Aave protocol. So they're doing fine. They're on multiple chains now. I think they're doing all the right things there. And I still use them, for my own personal kind of strategies all the time because the contracts are the most reliable in the space. They're kind of the blue chip where you can sleep well at night knowing you've parked your tokens in their smart contracts. And so yeah, you get good yields, and I see a lot of innovation coming from them in particular. Maybe it's not quite DeFi, but it's, again, they're so open-minded that they're looking at ways to incorporate social networks from the lessons they've learned with the Aave platform. So I don't know if the audience is aware of Lens protocol. It's been announced maybe a month ago, but this is an open source social network built by the same team building out Aave, and very, very excited for what that means because anybody can build a social network on this kind of foundation that they've created. And not dropping alpha here, but obviously it's on our radar to see more ways to make Aavegotchi part of a social layer of Web3. You see that with our use of badges. Every Aavegotchi earns lifelong badges. We want them to grow an identity that is your Web3 avatar identity. And if they can reflect that well and incorporate into some of these DeFi social networks, then it's going to get really interesting here. So it's a little murky right now what the final product will look like there, but I see DeFi doing fine. And if Aave has anything to say about it, it's going to be more social than ever.
Yeah, I love that integration there because we've seen the rise of DeFi, we've seen the rise of NFTs. Putting those together and then adding a social impact there as well can really like just bolster all the projects that are kind of building in the space. So love that. I want to be super cognizant of someone who has no idea of Aavegotchi, but take. So we talked about Haunt One and you guys starting it. Let's have like a 2 year or a year kind of like, I guess, overview, but make sure it's not too quick for those people who kind of want to know about Aavegotchi and what you guys have been up to. And then let's make it up to present day.
Yeah, absolutely. So a year ago, the first NFTs, the actual Aavegotchis dropped. As I mentioned, the bonding curve went out in September the year before. So that was the bootstrapping and growing the core team to begin the project. And so a year ago, we launched Haunt One, 10,000 portals. The cool thing about an Aavegotchi is you don't just get an Aavegotchi. They're randomly generated using the Chainlink random number generator. That oracle is kind of the gold standard for transparent randomness. So we hooked up with them very early on. In fact, I believe we were the first Polygon project to use them when they moved over to Polygon. We were kind of waiting for the Chainlink VRF oracle to come over, and then we were ready to go. And so what you get is you get a portal. And I like to think of it as like a deck of cards. So if you're collecting cards, same thing. You get the portal, you can keep it closed and collect it as is. It's an NFT. Or you can open it, engage with the Chainlink random number, and you will be randomly generated actually like 10 cards. You get 10 Aavegotchis inside. And from there, you look through all their different stats. They have 6 random traits. Personality, brain size, all these kind of things. And they're all on a bell curve, of course, because bell curves are awesome. And yeah, you end up in a position where you have to take one home. The other 9 are going to poof, disappear forever. So that's kind of the catch is unlike a normal pack of cards, you only get to keep your favorite card and the other 9 will be gone. And so at the end of the day, if every portal was opened, Haunt One would have 10,000 Aavegotchis. But the fact is there's a lot of portals that have not been opened yet. Probably because these are Haunt One and people want to keep those as a kind of collectible in and of itself. You know, an unopened portal is kind of like the ultimate mystery. I think the rarest one was just shown in a gallery in Hong Kong, and it was token ID number 2. So, you know, a very, very low token ID, which matters to collectors, and it's the lowest one that is yet to be opened. So somebody opened token ID 1, but that one's out there, and that one's going to be kind of an ultimate collectible here for time to come. So that's how you get your Aavegotchi. We did that. We did it through the first launch was kind of first come, first serve. Like there was a NFT drop. That was kind of the model at the time. And one of the things we realized early on is that wasn't very fun. Like we had a community at that point that was already 6 months mature, and we were unable to equally distribute to everybody because even though we did put limits on how many you could buy at a time, we still ended up in a situation where even me, I was unable to get an Aavegotchi. They sold out in 60 seconds. And so that led us on a journey of improvement and thinking about how NFT projects distribute their NFTs. And that's where we came to link up with the guys at GBM. So GBM is, you can go to gbm.auction. That's their website, and it kind of lays it out. They are a normal English auction, except with this smart contract kind of, it's like another way to think about it. And it is basically you get money every time somebody outbids you. That's the GBM auction. So we call it bid to earn.
Love it.
So you bid 100 for an Aavegotchi hat, and I come in and I bid 120. You committed your capital in real time through a transaction on the smart contract. Now you get it returned to you, and because it's on Polygon, these transactions are reasonable. It gets returned to you along with a percentage of what I outbid you by, because my capital was committed in real time. So this is a really, really popular solution that we've introduced by partnering with them, and would do it all over again. We're so happy. Basically, every NFT distribution since that first one has used the GBM auction, and it's always a blast. You get these 3-day auction windows where everyone's bidding on, you know, whether it's the second generation of Aavegotchis or some different wearables, but all of this is happening with the idea that you can actually earn money just for showing up and participating. At the end of the day, whoever bids the most, of course, gets the NFT. They're happy, you're happy, and it's an exciting event. So um, that was one of the many things we've done along the way. We introduced staking, so you could stake your GHST token and earn friends points. And these friends points are another way to approach a fair distribution of NFTs. So these are our long-term holders, or they're locking up a lot of Ghost. It would go to reason that they would have a good chance to win exclusive NFTs. So some of the Aavegotchi wearables, you can't buy them. You can't just win an auction. You actually have to get lucky and stake some Ghost and hope that your ticket is the one drawn. Again, we use Chainlink to verify that. So yeah, these are just some of the things we're playing with over the last year. There was a second issuance of Aavegotchis because demand was too high and prices were outrageous. Now there are a potential 25,000 because the second haunt was 15K, the first was 10. But many portals are unopened. I think there's 17, 18,000 Aavegotchis in total. And that is all controlled by the DAO. So the DAO has ultimate responsibility to decide the inflation rate or the total supply of Aavegotchis.
How do you view that? Because we see like projects like Bored Ape Yacht Club, for example, going the Mutant Ape route where they wanted to increase supply to drive down a little bit of that price and let people in. How do you feel? Are you guys are just going to continue to have these haunts where more gotchis are introduced into the ecosystem, or is there a theoretical cap?
The theoretical cap is that we want everyone in the world to have an Aavegotchi someday. So that could be 4, 5, 6 billion wherever we're at now in 2022. So that part is something I think we're explicitly different in that we don't want to just be this 10K PFP type of play. We want to say, look, if you're a collector, Haunt 1, you're good to go. You've got the original 10K. But if there's enough demand, especially with the Gotchiverse coming out, where we're going to need lots of players, then when the time comes, you'll see it reflected in the lending rates. If it's just too expensive to even borrow an Aavegotchi, it'll be time to introduce a third generation of Aavegotchis. And the DAO has total control in the amount it inflates, how often it inflates, and even maybe how it inflates. Like the second one basically was similar to the first, different amount, 15 instead of 10. There were new collaterals introduced. There were new collectible eyes. Their eyes have rarity, so some ultra rare eyes that were only exclusive to Haunt 1 or Haunt 2. But we could see more changes in the future, I'm sure, to reflect whatever the needs are at the time. And now that Ghost is listed on Aave, that's kind of the prerequisite. Every Aavegotchi is funded by Aave listed tokens. I'm just waiting for the day we get Haunt 3 and we get some GHST themed Aavegotchis. It's like Aavegotchi, inception. So looking forward to that.
Love it, man. So we kind of did a good breakdown. I think we laid the foundation, of course, for the project, and then you kind of gave a quick breakdown of Aavegotchi in general. For the people that are more experienced, for your community members now that have been around for a while, let's get into a little bit more in depth on what you guys have coming right now. Gotchiverse is part of the thumbnail that we have for today. You guys released a 15-second little hype snippet of a trailer that's coming out. Basically, your Gotchiverse is about to launch. Give me a full primer on
Nice.
what is to expect.
This is the good stuff. All right. No, this is exciting. We're just so thrilled. We've grown so much in the last year. We have about 35 core team members on Pixelcraft now, all dedicated to maintaining Aavegotchi.com, but also building out the Gotchiverse. And that includes hiring veteran game developers, up-and-coming game developers, game economists. Everybody's all hands on deck to deliver a metaverse that is not cookie cutter, not something that you'll know it's Aavegotchi when it's done, right? It'll be true to the brand and to the protocol. So as on-chain as possible and innovating where possible. So this metaverse, I always describe it as, imagine like 1994 Legend of Zelda, like hand dipped in a little bit of acid or microdosed in LSD, however you want to call it. So it's like a vibrant, colorful world that is kind of our dream state for the Aavegotchis. They're spirits, right? So this is where they go home. This is their homeland. And there's a whole lot of lore. It's like a DeFi RPG. So we are really embracing it in those terms and trying to build out something that is almost like a new genre. Like it's a mix mash of genres and gameplay you maybe are familiar with, whether it's Clash of Clans crafting, Minecraft crafting, or some of the kind of melee battle stuff like a Diablo inspiration with the MMORPGs. We've kind of pulled all of that together to create a cute, approachable, but rather deep RPG experience, and that comes into, every trait will affect your Aavegotchi's performance. Every item that you equip, all your wearables, those have different use cases and powers, and at the end of the day, you're trying to earn and gather 4 different raw elements of the world to use them to craft rare NFTs. And so it's really truly DeFi in the sense that your land parcel has in the contract, it has a bunch of ERC20 tokens deposited inside of it. And the only way to extract it is to hook up a farming NFT and start harvesting those out. So that's kind of where we're going. Is you're going to have 3 ways to play to earn. You're going to farm it, you're going to explore it in battle, and then you're even going to do a new one that I don't know if we had to make it up. It's called channeling. And this is a social, kind of that social layer. I'm going to call you Nifty Q and say, let's get together every Friday at 3 p.m. in the GOTCHIVERSE, and we're going to do our little ritual together at my lodge, and that's my guild. And it's, it's a 5-person guild, but we're going to get together and do the ritual. The more people that get together, the more Alchemica, these play to earn tokens, are going to rain down on you in real time to gather up. So it's like a rain dance, and it's raining money.
Yeah, Alchemica. We've touched on DAOs and communities, and a lot of people call them cults. Alchemica channeling. To me, I was reading, I was like, this is a cult. This is a cult here that we're earning tokens. People talk about like adoption and the, I guess, hoops that people have to go through to get introduced to NFTs and all this stuff. I think it's a little overblown when it comes to like the actual, like, I guess, difficulty. So when you're thinking about adoption, especially within the gaming kind of ecosystem here, you have 4 different tokens. You got FUD, Alchemica, there's a couple others. But how do you make that into something digestible for a new person? Right? Because again, I think it's super overblown. Gamers go through a lot of hoops to learn about an ecosystem. They're questing, they're learning about all these different assets. They can do it, but how do you make it something that can be digestible for them?
Yeah, it's got to be something they want to do. And so that's why we want it to be a casual experience that has layers of depth. So when the game launches, it's designed to be so approachable. If you have no ghost tokens, if you don't even own an Aavegotchi, it doesn't matter. You're going to go to the website, you're going to click on borrow a gotchi and get started. And literally there's going to be a list of Aavegotchis that you can borrow for free. And you're just going to choose the one you want with the player attributes that you want. You need 0.001 Matic to pay the gas fee, and then you're good to go. And then, boom, you're dropped into the world, and right away it's extremely intuitive. You're running around seeing Alchemica popping up, and these are the 4 different tokens. So you see bright reds, bright greens. These things are popping up on the surface of the game. It's basically Pac-Man. It's not hard. You start running around trying to get them before other people get them. And it's a bit of an Easter egg hunt. So if you've ever done that, then this will feel like home. And then after you do that, you might feel like, okay, that was cool, but I want to get into the crafting, and I want to start actually making a home here and increasing my yield. And that's where you can come in and say, okay, we got a really cool crafting table we've yet to release. I think we're just a few days away from pulling back the curtain on that. So you guys, we have a trailer dropping. We're going to show a lot more footage of gameplay and how you craft. A lot is to be revealed in the coming days, but it's very, very built to be intuitive. And, you're going to be crafting all sorts of these NFTs that help you generate more yield, or are really cool collectibles, or just decorations for your parcel. But you'll have a lot of things to craft and build. And then when you throw in the cult stuff at the end with the channeling, some of these guilds might actually come up with their own prayer or some sort of ritual. I'm just joking when I say that. Like, all you got to do is be present, push a button, and we're all together. It does a head count, and says, okay, this guy showed up with like 99 Aavegotchis for his channeling session, we're going to make it rain. So there's like a multiplier effect. And then we're just running around scooping it up together. It's going to be a party.
Yeah, for those of you who've been tuning in to the Nifty Q show for a little bit, you understand the importance of guilds within these play to earn ecosystems. But Golden Cross, I want to kind of get your take on how guilds work within the play to earn industry in general, but specifically, of course, within Aavegotchi. You have this really cool channeling piece, but how important is it for an individual to get involved in a guild within Aavegotchi?
Yeah, we definitely have like user feedback from the community. They want a strong solo adventure. So if you're not social and you want to be able to play and just play to earn, do your crafting, upgrade your parcel, that's absolutely fine. You will do very, very well enjoying that. But there's definitely something to be said where you're kind of leaving out that final social channeling aspect. And so if you can get together and, like I say, whether it's a very formal guild or whether it's just a loose network of friends, you craft a lodge, you host a party, and you once a week can get together in that lodge and have this kind of rain dance of Alchemica. So beyond that, there's inside the lodge, you have decorations, you'll have a bunch of things to kind of make that your home. So there's a ton of things you can do for that clubhouse type of experience. But I think ultimately the game is versatile enough that you can do it either way. You can be a lone wolf or part of a bigger community and do well. But I would say I totally agree with you that guilds are really a key part for any of these Web3 games coming up. And that's why we spent a lot of time talking to guilds that are already established and taking their feedback and their notes to develop the Gotchiverse. When we thought about those social aspects, we didn't want to just make it up on the fly, right? Like there's already people out there doing that. So we've had great conversations with the likes of Blackpool or Yield Guild, and these guilds are on board with us. They already have partner parcels within the Gotchiverse, and their feedback though is hopefully going to show in the final product, because really we are built to kind of, like, we heard about their pain points. Like there's a lot of overhead, there's a lot of management, and that's part of what came out with Gotchi Lending. It's like, well, let us take care of that for you. You don't have to do any of the background checks and the kind of bureaucratic layer. Let's make this trustless and just like your Uber app. And so that's what we're trying to do now. Between that and the lodges, I think the guilds are fairly happy. In fact, just today we published chapter 3 of our Gotchiverse Bible. And this is our kind of, instead of a white paper, we have a Bible because the design doc just keeps going. And so we broke it into chapters. The one that dropped today is very much related to guilds and how to channel. So as I talk about this, if you're curious, just go to blog.aavegotchi.com and you will definitely see that there front and center. Chapter 3 talking about the guilds, and we're getting feedback today from the guilds on what they see published, and generally it's all very excited, and they're I think they see where this can go. It's designed to be able to scale infinitely. So that's what we want. We want everyone to have an Aavegotchi and to be part of at least one guild.
That's amazing. I want to talk about that piece you just hit on, at least one guild. We had a good question come through from Gotchi Bulls. And the quote is, they said you could join multiple guilds depending on your Aavegotchi level, which I want to kind of frame in the way of how do you stop maybe gaming of your mechanism. You know, there's always going to be somebody out there that's going to try to outsmart you when it comes to the tokenomics here. Is there any way that somebody could game this where we just take 100 people and we move from piece to piece and the multiplier just drops Alchemica from the skies and you kind of game it that way?
We've spent a lot of time thinking about these exact questions, because if you don't think about them, then absolutely 100% you're going to get situations like what you just described. So to Gotchi Bull's question, like, that's exactly why we have a cap on your Aavegotchi and how many guilds it can be a member of at any one time. And when we talk about guilds in this, you know, you may be a member of many guilds outside of the Gotchiverse, but we're talking about within the game, how many lodges can you go to and do the social channeling? And so if you have, you know, your Aavegotchi can earn XP and level up. And so if you're a level 1 Gotchi, you can only join one guild. But if you've earned enough XP and you're a level 2 Gotchi or a level 3 Gotchi, suddenly you can unlock more and more guilds to join, more and more lodges to be a member of, and ultimately I think it works out to a cap of 7. So theoretically, if you had a high enough level Aavegotchi, you could at least do one social channeling per day. But that's going to take a lot of work. I don't think there's an Aavegotchi in existence that has obtained that level yet. So when the game goes live, no one will be able to channel socially every single day.
Interesting.
Um,
I want to
yeah.
talk about guild mechanics with PvP here, and Aavegotchi PvP, of course. Somehow, I always like package two questions into one, and I appreciate my guests for hitting both when they answer. But from a PvP aspect, how are you looking to that in Aavegotchi? And then let's just hit on that one. I don't want to package this one. Let's What are you thinking about with PvP within
Oh, yeah.
Aavegotchi?
With PvP, okay, so this is one of the cool things we experimented with early on is we realized we want to have a safe area where people can do their farming and their social stuff in peace. That, if you look at our big map on our, it's all over our Twitter and stuff, it's called the Citadel. And this is the kind of the safe harbor. So you're in there, you're running the DAO, you're having meetups, you're farming, it's all good. Then in Q2 of this year, our target is to expand the game. We anticipate having kind of filled in the Citadel with players and activity and all that. The next step, you could almost think of it as a sequel, is the grid. This is everything beyond the Citadel, and this is where we get into the PvP. So you're out of your kind of friendly fires, not allowed area. Now we're on the open range, and we introduce a new character called the Liquidator, Lick, like because he's got a cute, really big tongue like a cute puppy, and this is the arch nemesis of the Aavegotchis, and this is another big innovation in our toolbox for expanding accessibility to Web3. We know that a lot of people want to have NFTs but don't want to pay or can't afford it simply. And so, outside of the lending, which will be live on day one, when the grid goes live, we'll be introducing a new character, the Liquidator, and it's not an NPC character. These are going to be controlled by people, and so you can take the other side of the adventure. And these are one-time use NFT playable avatars, and you can hop in, basically airdrop in, and do battle to try to get as much alchemica as you can, get it back to the save point before an Aavegotchi tracks you down and gives you justice. So the liquidators are going to be a really fun PvP way to set things up and kind of mix things up on the grid. And if that's not for you, just hang out in the Citadel, stay behind the border walls because
No.
it's going to
Yeah.
get wild out there.
Oh yeah, it's gonna get real wild. I will be one of the liquidators. I'll tell you first thing. PvP. I was in WoW. I was the guy that would like get high level and then go back to like very base level barons where you could just murk a level 5 character who's just trying to make his way. So I will be a liquidator. But how do you look at PvP between guilds? Because that's something. Obviously, PvP is like not even built out at all within the NFT space right now, but eventually you're going to have the ability to have guilds and then tournaments and things like this. Are you guys kind of giving that any
Yeah.
thought?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, there's so many ways that they will compete, whether it's in the treasury of their lodge, right? The members can actually, it's almost like a DAO in that sense, in that you're sharing a treasury and then you're allocating what you want your guild to build out. So there will be like different types of installations or NFTs you can place on your parcel that might be limited in number or limited in window. And so they're limited edition, and the guilds maybe will be the only ones in some cases to compete for those limited edition NFTs. Another example might be simply we have an area called the arena where we really emphasize the PvP. This is besides the grid. This is where gotchis, the one-time gotchis, get to have a little fun and battle each other. And there'll be tournaments and all this kind of thing that happens there. So you'll bring your 5 best from your guild and do like 5-on-5 basketball equivalent. Um, and then there's also just this idea that districts inside the Citadel, they're actually districts. In each district literally is a sub DAO, a micro DAO. And what that means is you have guilds kind of currently today, they're blocking off areas inside the Citadel as theirs, right? They've either won it in an auction or they've won it in a raffle. and they are kind of marking out, this is our district, we're going to have a lot of influence in this area. And that's cool because we're building in features where they'll be able to actually affect the aesthetics of that particular region of the Citadel. And not just aesthetics, that's the lamppost, the names of the streets, all that kind of stuff. But also it could lead to, for sure, other types of competitive races, have you, where it's almost like Wonders of the World or something along those lines. If you've ever played Civilization, like only one of us can build Statue of Liberty, that kind of thing. So we'll see where it goes, but that's just a few of the ways that the guilds can kind of get some team competition going.
Yeah, we're running up to the end of the episode, and Golden Cross, you dropped a lot of information. Definitely want to get any last info as it regards to Chapter 3 that you guys just dropped of this Bible blog post. I also had a couple other questions here that I wanted to get to. So you guys had GAX as part of this release as well. What is the importance of having that kind of DEX, essentially?
Yeah, the GAX is the Gotchi Alchemica Exchange. So it's basically a DEX. Imagine something like a fork of Uniswap, something like that, that will be just set up and running to support anyone that wants to trade their Alchemica tokens. Because we have four. We have the FUD, FOMO, Alpha, and KEK. Four wonderful tokens. And if you're trying to craft something and I'm trying to craft something different, maybe there's an opportunity for us to just exchange our different Alchemicas. Or maybe I have a lot of Ghost or any other token, and I'm willing to pay to get more instead of play. So then I can always do a token swap. So it will facilitate a lot of those things. The most notable part might be the way we're approaching fees. This is going to be more approached as like a non-profit DEX, and the fees are going to go back into supporting the economy of the game. Because when you look around the space from a theoretical standpoint, there's very few ways to generate real value from nothing. And the exchanges are kind of the one exception. If you think about it, they are benefiting from real economic activity in the form of a fee. And so you're not just moving the chairs around on the deck as the ship is going whatever way. Instead, you're actually like a real legit profitable business. And so we want to attach that kind of profitable product into the Aavegotchi protocol. And I think it's going to be a big contributor for sustainability of the Gotchiverse, of the Aavegotchi protocol, and it's going to be just a great tool for users to easily move in and out of different Alchemica tokens. So initially it'll be launched with pairs with Ghost. You'll have like FOMO and Ghost, KEK and Ghost, and we'll help to bootstrap some of that initial liquidity. And from there, you'll be able to farm the Glitter token, which is the main token for being an LP on that DEX. And the Glitter token has its own set of utility we haven't even been able to go into. So we have 5 tokens coming out in total.
I do feel bad. I do feel bad for new users that want to get involved, and that's why I asked you about the adoption question of how do you make it all digestible. But I think you guys are doing an amazing job. If you're listening at home and you're new to the NFT space, or you got to find which project to get involved in, find a team that understands the things that Golden Cross just talked about, the DeFi integrations, the actual economic value talks. And I just want to piggyback what you just said in why you needed a native platform. And it's probably an easy answer. You probably wanted to add some, again, economic value, but what's the importance of having it be native? Because you could have just linked out to Uniswap and said, hey, you guys can swap in here. What's the importance of it being native to your platform?
Yeah, I mean, the key is it's such a valuable tool to have for any protocol. And we do think of Aavegotchi as a protocol. It's an open source, community-owned NFT gaming protocol. And so when you think of that, probably should have its own DEX. And it would just go so far on Polygon. Like we're not saying you won't be able to trade these, or we won't support them on QuickSwap or SushiSwap, some of these other DEXs. But definitely having the DAO, we're talking about the DAO, not Pixelcraft, the DAO be able to distribute its own, maintain its own DEX, that makes us, in the Gotchiverse game, much less reliant on any outside factor, whether they're getting, good or bad. And so we want to be able to have that stability and assurance for the community that these will always be able to trade here. Maybe they'll trade elsewhere, but at least in the game, you've got a simple swap mechanism to support you.
Love it. Golden Cross, drop any other information you've got. I've got some
Yeah.
lightning questions from the community as well that I want to hit on. Argub is saying, will we be able to take a wearable crest off of a lodge if we win them in a GBM auction and move them to a different parcel that we own, or is it attached for 3 months? So, deep question there. Do you have the answer?
Yeah, I need to double check on that one. That's a very specific question, but it's a good one. So basically, when you have a lodge, you get to equip a wearable to it as the crest. And so I say, hey, I've got the Fireball and the Fireball Lodge. And for the next 3 months, it's secured as I'm the Fireball Lodge guy because there's bids on who gets to have what wearable attached to the lodge. So I'm the Fireball Lodge guy. If I was to quit, say 4 weeks in, I don't want to be the Fireball Lodge guy anymore. I'll double check on that. I would imagine you should be able to relinquish it early. Yeah, there's it's just a smart contract call I got to make sure is in there, and so good due diligence there from the community.
Absolutely. We got a couple more questions coming in, but I'll let you kind of break down any other information you have as it regards to Aavegotchi here before we get some last community questions
I'd just
in.
say, it's an exciting time to be on the lookout for our trailer dropping in any day now, and then we will also be. There's a reason for that, right? We're close to the release of the Gotchiverse, so if you haven't looked into it, now is a great time to engage with our Discord, our wiki.aavegotchi, blog.aavegotchi, and just follow along. Check out the Gotchi Bible. These are fun reads. They're intended to be fun but informative. They can seem like, wow, this is pretty deep, but that's the fun of exploring Web3, right? We want to explore these things together and see, what's really possible on chain. And yeah, just be on the lookout. Gotchi lending is going to change the game. So all complexities aside, if you just want to hop in with an Aavegotchi and pick up some Alchemica and get that stuff into your favorite wallet, you're going to be in for a really good time here in just a few weeks.
Awesome. Golden Cross, you laid it down today. I want to give a last quick shout out to the community. If you have any more questions, we have to get them in. We've been here almost an hour now, so we definitely want to let Golden Cross on his way, wherever that may be. Crypto Abstract, Gotchi, Bulls, DJ Wisdom, Digits is saying I hated people like you in my reference to that World of Warcraft segment there. But hey, I had a personal question here. And I'll ask this community question first, though, because it just came through. And Gotti is saying launch date. Do we actually have a date for the Gotchiverse launch?
We're dates away from a date. We're days away from a date.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll just have to wait in the wings for that one. This is a personal question. As I've gotten more involved in the metaverse, I am a sandbox landowner. Obviously, we're in the NFT space, and we've been here for a minute. So a little bit of a deep question here. Interoperability of assets within the metaverse. At first, I thought, okay, we're going to start to see all of these assets kind of meld together, and they're all going to be within one plot. You're going to see a Gotchi and a sandbox and a illuvium all together in one place. And the more I've made my way down the rabbit hole, the more I understand how hard that actually is to code specific assets from each game into one game, essentially. What do you make of interoperability of assets? Is it even kind of possible in this next 5-year timeline?
Yeah, I think when people think of interoperability, they think about what you just described, and it's totally possible, but it takes a lot of integration work. It's not like, oh, we're both on the same blockchain, therefore we can just jump into each other's worlds, because there's a lot of other, infrastructure there. So it's totally possible, maybe not in some cases, but in many. And when we talk about interoperability, it's already happening, though, on that kind of where are they all? If they're all on Polygon, then we're interoperable in the sense that we can all be on the OpenSea Polygon. Or we, as running our own NFT marketplace, the Aavegotchi Bazaar, we could onboard other NFT projects and let them trade within our bazaar, right? So those are kind of like the easier, more realistic interoperabilities here up front, right in front of us. There's also the reality that the economic incentives to merge worlds right now isn't really there. Right now, this phase of the market, everyone's trying to build the best world or experience or metaverse they can and hope to establish, dominance and have certain momentum. So maybe down the road, it could make the tables could turn, and it'd be like, you know what, we need to put more of our resources into getting into that world over there, or having people hosted in our world over here. Um, so I think it's just a situation of timing and where we are in the market. It's still very, very young. So we're still in that Cambrian explosion of NFT projects and all that, and there'll be a consolidation period somewhere down the road, where you will start to see that interoperability that's desired. And I think Illuvium, they still need to launch anyway. So they got
All right, I hold a little bit of ILV token, so no FUD there as it's related to Illuvium. But okay, so if I really made you answer this question, like a Ready Player One universe that we see in that movie, when does that exist? When do we see that? 10 years from now?
well, if it's the VR and the AR and all of those other elements, yeah, it's probably, your guess is as good as mine, maybe 10 years down the road. But
Okay.
I like to make the argument that the metaverse is already here. It's just, it's very fragmented, and it's not what you think and see in the movies. It's not the Matrix. It's not Ready Player One. It's we're on Discord, and we've just in the last few years got a key ingredient here to make it a reality, whereas it's digital property rights. And that's what it all comes back to with these NFTs and blockchains securing these things. We're not reliant on a third party or a company. That's just like the thing, the ingredient that was missing for us to be able to actually build the metaverse you described. The difference between what we have today and a Ready Player One is mostly, I think, the aesthetics and the way it's experienced. But it's actually, the primitives are there now, and so we'll try to realize some of those and streamline them on the Gotchiverse.
Before this call, me and Golden Cross were saying that it would be 30 to 45 minutes. We are up on an hour now and more, so I will let you go, man. Last question I had from the community before I do let you go, and it ties into the conversation we were just having. And this comes from Crypto Abstract. Does Aavegotchi plan on buying a penthouse in World Wide Web?
You know, I just saw their latest update about being able to decorate and customize your different apartments. And I should have mentioned them. The World Wide Web is very focused on being kind of that place where all the NFTs can interact with one another. And they integrated Aavegotchi about 2 months ago, and it was really, really pleasant. It was very, very nice. So that's a cool project that is, the team is definitely heads down and building out some awesome concepts. So maybe we do need to get a penthouse. Who knows?
All right, guys. This was a great conversation with Golden Cross, co-founder of Aavegotchi. They have a lot of cool things coming. We were waiting on a date of the Gotchiverse release, but a lot of good alpha here that we had on the episode. We are going to wave bye to you guys. We're here every Wednesday and Thursday on the Nifty Q show. So we will see you guys tomorrow. Golden Cross, again, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you so much.